My wife has lost her memory, completely forgetting me, the husband who has been by her side for many years, and has reunited with her childhood sweetheart, who is also from a wealthy family. The two of them are openly affectionate, and even making a fuss about divorcing me. Our relatives and friends are all advising me, saying that once she regains her memory, she will regret it. But I signed the divorce agreement without hesitation, because I knew that my wife had never lost her memory from beginning to end. My wife, Qi Yunshan, was in a car accident. She was physically fine, but there was some blood clot in her brain. Before I met her, the doctor reminded me that the blood clot in her brain might cause symptoms such as dizziness and memory loss, and told me to be mentally prepared. So when she woke up and asked me who I was with a detached look, I smiled brightly. Yunshan, I'm your husband, Shen Yichen. Don't you remember it all? I gently stroked my wife, my smile even more gentle. We've been in love for 6 years and married for 2 years. You're also pregnant with our baby. Luckily, she's still healthy this time. As a mother, you must be looking forward to it, right? Touching her bulging belly, a trace of guilt flashed across Qi Yunshan's eyes, but she still firmly shook her head. Impossible. Zhou Zhe and I are childhood sweethearts. We established our relationship in the first year of high school. How could we allow an outsider like you to interfere? This child has nothing to do with you. She turned to look at Zhou Zhe and stretched out her hands to him. Zhou Zhe, we have always been the most in love, haven't we? Even during this car accident, we were together in the car, sharing blessings and hardships. Zhou Zhe smiled awkwardly, but he still tightly held Qi Yunshan's hands. The midday sun shone through the thin gauze curtains, and the fine dust dancing with the sunlight enveloped the two people snuggling together, hazy and beautiful like a mural. Just like the time in high school, when they kissed deeply in the setting sun. They were fooling around then, and I was quietly reading and studying on the side. If a teacher appeared, I would become their little tutor, helping them cover up for 3 years. I knew I was just a follower, but I was happy to do so. Because I was poor and my parents didn't like me, even though I was the top scorer in the city's junior high school entrance exam, I was deprived of the right to go to high school. Fortunately, a private aristocratic high school specially recruited 10 outstanding students from poor families as a facade, providing generous scholarships and a large pie of tens to hundreds of thousands of yuan in rewards after the college entrance examination in high school. So I was able to continue studying. Good grades were originally a student's capital, but that didn't work in a private aristocratic school, because this was a place where money and connections gathered. No matter how good the poor people's grades were, they would only be their workers in the future. My situation was predictable. Looking at the mocking and discriminatory gazes of everyone, I even regretted coming to high school at the time. I even had the impulse to run home and be sold by my parents to a stupid woman as a live-in son-in-law. But I was lucky. Zhou Zhe finally accepted me. He allowed me to be his and Qi Yunshan's follower. He said that the other boys in the school were too excellent, and if they kept following him and Qi Yunshan, what if they hooked up with Qi Yunshan and someone as lowly as me, even if I was handsome, was at most a waste in women's eyes, and no wealthy daughter would truly like me. I don't quite remember what I thought at the time. I only remember that he gave me 10,000 yuan, which was the money for me to be his follower for 3 years. In the eyes of many people, 10,000 yuan is insignificant, and no one would bend over for this little money. But I would. Why are you still here? Qi Yunshan frowned, very displeased. Her voice pulled me back to reality from my memories. I smiled good-naturedly. Then I'll go home first. You take care of your body. Then I also nodded and smiled at Zhou Zhe. Then I'll trouble you to work hard these few days. Zhou Zhe had some pity in his eyes. Shen Yichen, I'm sorry. Yunshan and I are sorry for you, but I really love Yunshan so much. I can't live without her. Please leave her, okay? I silently looked at Qi Yunshan. Qi Yunshan was staring at her belly, with hesitation in her eyes. Zhou Zhe buried her head in his shoulder, begging, Yunshan, if I don't have you, I won't be able to live. When the car accident happened, you promised me that you would get a divorce and marry me. If you want to keep the child, we will take good care of it. If you don't want to keep it, I will arrange the best doctor. Hearing this, the hesitation in Qi Yunshan's eyes faded away, and she said coldly to me, Shen Yichen, I don't know what happened between us, but it's really impossible for me to love you. Let's get a divorce. I want to laugh a little. Zhou Zhe, do you really love Qi Yunshan? Qi Yunshan, do you really not remember what happened between us? The fork in the road of our 3 fates was after the college entrance examination. At that time, I was admitted to Peking University as I wished, and I also received the 500,000 yuan reward that the school promised. Even though most of it was taken away by my parents and younger brother, I finally had a little savings of my own, and I could finally breathe freely in college. Qi Yunshan's academic performance was only mediocre, but because she took the road of international return, she also went to a famous university as she wished. Only Zhou Zhe, even with multiple paths blessing him, unfortunately scored 200 points on the college entrance examination, which was shockingly low, and in the end, he could only go to study in the UK. At first, Qi Yunshan and Zhou Zhe could barely maintain their relationship as a couple, chatting and flirting in video calls every day, and Qi Yunshan would go straight to the UK every holiday. But as time went by, the young and energetic hormones were restricted by the long-distance relationship, and the pride of the young master and princess made them unwilling to compromise. In the end, they broke up miserably. At that time, in order to provoke Qi Yunshan, Zhou Zhe even sent her bed photos of him and several foreign women. He said harshly at the time, "Qi Yunshan, don't pester me anymore. Your flat figure can't satisfy me at all. I will never love you again." Qi Yunshan was so angry that she wanted to go to the UK and kill Zhou Zhe. Proud as she was, she couldn't stand being cuckolded so many times. Her parents couldn't stop her, but I held her down tightly. She and Zhou Zhe treated me as a follower and lackey, but I treated them as friends, because no matter what the original intention was, they ultimately saved the poorest and most helpless me. I just didn't expect that in the end. Qi Yunshan would choose to make me her boyfriend. I asked her why. I deeply remembered the disdainful tone she used when answering. "Shen Yichen, Zhou Zhe despises you the most. In his eyes, you are always the lowest dog. But I insist on loving you, on praising you. I want to let him know that in my heart he is not as good as you a dog. I want him to regret it for the rest of his life." Am I sad? I should be sad, but I nodded in agreement. Because the more I see, the more I realize that poverty is the most difficult chasm to cross, and I need a high starting point to leap from. And Qi Yunshan is the closest springboard. Now that she's back together with Zhou Zhe, I've become a discarded dog again. It doesn't matter. I've already obtained the money and wealth I craved most, and I never expect love anyway. In college, my condition for being Qi Yunshan's boyfriend was a monthly allowance of 200,000 yuan. Some call it selling myself. But I don't think so, because we're a normal boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm not a kept man, and she's not a sugar mommy. The allowance is just an additional product of love. The reason I wanted the money was to give myself a way out. My intuition told me that once Zhou Zhe came back, I would be kicked out. I was lucky. Zhou Zhe was always absorbed in the attention of all kinds of beautiful women overseas. So I kept making money through dating and used the money to support my continuous learning and improvement. With money, I hired a one-on-one foreign teacher to improve my clumsy spoken English, and without studying abroad, I developed a standard London accent that the upper class adored. With money, I hired one-on-one teachers to teach me Spanish and French, and persuaded Qi Yunshan to travel to Europe during the summer vacation. The former country bumpkin can now switch freely between 3 foreign languages. With money, I took etiquette classes with famous teachers to improve my taste in clothing and social etiquette. With money, I could make friends with classmates at will, without having to feel inferior because I couldn't afford the cost of meals. What reassured me the most was that with money, I bought my own large apartment in the first year. I obtained a Beijing hukou. As for the Beijing hukou, it was also within my plan. My safest route was to take the postgraduate entrance exam and the civil service exam. But thinking of the family members who were leeching off me, I gave up this path into the system. Because once I went down that road, I would be restricted by too many rules and morals and would be bound by my original family for the rest of my life. But I needed a hukou, so I used my Peking University degree and Qi Yunshan's connections to get into a public institution and quickly obtained a Beijing hukou before resigning with compensation. It was shameless, but I had no other choice. I wanted to quickly become rich and not be afraid of family harassment, so my only option was to start my own business. When I was busy starting my business and achieved some success, and almost forgot that I had a girlfriend named Qi Yunshan, she suddenly proposed to me. Graduation season is breakup season. Although she didn't explicitly tell me she was breaking up with me at the time, she left for England without saying goodbye. As for the love-hate entanglement between her and Zhou Zhe, I didn't care, and I don't know what they went through later. I only know that she returned to China with a body full of sadness and sorrow. I assumed that my relationship with Qi Yunshan was completely over, but she came back with a vengeance. Shen Yichen, although I still have both love and hate for Zhou Zhe in my heart, and although I don't love you, let's get married. I want to let Zhou Zhe understand that as long as I want to, even a dog that he used to bully can become a high-ranking gentleman. If you ask me if I'm willing to be a substitute, I don't know. It's an indescribable feeling, but I can't say I'm unwilling. Even though I was already good enough at that time, and many girls like me, I knew my own weight. Compared to the Qi family, I was still as different as an ant in a big tree, and I needed the shade of a big tree. We got married. Qi Yunshan married me in grand style. Everyone said that I was marrying above myself, envying me for clinging to a rich young lady, but only I knew that she was always just my boss. And my parents-in-law, they're also my bosses. Facing the bosses hidden under the facade of marriage, I naturally do my best to be a good husband. Only in this way can I obtain more resources and develop my own industry. Under the happy exterior, I have been waiting for the moment of divorce. Especially after Zhou Zhe returned to China, I immediately noticed their constant entanglement. At first, she didn't come home at night, and later there were quarrels between Qi Yunshan and her family. She wanted a divorce, but the first thing she did was not to tell me, but to discuss it with her parents first. Isn't that ridiculous? In her eyes, I have always been insignificant, not worth a single thought. However, the fact that I am willing to divorce does not mean that I will obediently give up my benefits. I am not a rag that Qi Yunshan and Zhou Zhe can use and throw away at will. The only thing that gave Qi Yunshan a little guilt was that she already had a child the Qi family had been eagerly awaiting. But she had a car accident, and taking advantage of her amnesia, she proposed a divorce. She felt at ease, as if this would absolve her of any moral or conscientious unease. Now that the final shoe has dropped, I can finally sleep peacefully. Qi Yunshan kept her word, and in just 3 days, she handed me the divorce agreement. My hands trembled as I took the agreement, my eyes filled with sorrow as I stared at her. Yunshan, even the coldest stone would be warmed after 6 years. Did you really never fall in love with me? In your eyes, was my contribution for these 6 years just a joke? Did you think about our child? A grown man like me went from trying to restrain myself to squatting on the ground and sobbing, like the most pitiful man being trampled on in the world. The sadness was fake, but the crying was real. Even if I married her for power and money, even if every night of love was just acting, it was still 6 years of entanglement. Qi Yunshan reached out a hand, wanting to stroke my short hair, but stopped in midair. Shen Yichen, you have always been the strongest man. Please don't cry like this. I'm sorry. You are really good, the most qualified husband and son-in-law in the world, but I will always love Zhou Zhe more. You know, you were with me for 6 years, but I also waited for him for 6 years. You don't have the heart to let me continue to suffer, do you? I cursed inwardly, but on the surface, I still cried helplessly. She sighed and took the divorce agreement away, and after a while, she had a lawyer send me a new one. The lawyer looked at me with a knowing smile. Mr. Shun is really impressive. Using the Qi family's influence to pave the way, your own fitness clubs are making a fortune, and you can still get so much real estate and hundreds of millions in liquid assets from Miss Qi. I admire you. I gave a bitter smile and sighed. If I could choose, I would rather grow old together. The lawyer shook his head and smiled. No matter how smart a woman is, she can't escape a big man's tears, of course. It shows that Miss Qi has you in her heart. Otherwise, no matter how much you cry, she wouldn't be soft-hearted and double your compensation in half a day. I didn't say anything, just smiled bitterly and shook my head as I signed the agreement. Eyes are so precious. Why would I hurt my deep eyes with tears if it weren't for profit? From beginning to end, I had no complaints about the Qi family or Qi Yunshan. Even about Zhou Zhe, who stole my marriage and my woman, I remained silent. A dignified farewell, a peaceful departure. From now on, I will only love myself and the upcoming child. Even though she was about to give birth, I was still busy with my career every day. Only my career could give me the greatest sense of security. In the past 2 years, my fitness clubs had opened 3 branches across the country. The number was small, but they followed a high-end route, serving only the wealthy and second- and third-tier celebrities, generating considerable income. Because I came from a poor background, I was more afraid of poverty than anyone else. I wanted to create the best material conditions for myself and my child. Although Qi Yunshan was hesitant, I hoped that she could give birth to the child for me. Under my continuous pleading, and with the persuasion of Qi's parents, and because Qi Yunshan's body was not suitable for an abortion, she finally agreed to give birth to the child. The condition was that the child's surname would be Qi, and the child would be registered in the Qi family's genealogy, but I would be responsible for raising the child. I had no nostalgia for my original family, nor did I care about having someone inherit my surname, so I readily agreed. I was looking forward to the arrival of the child. Finally, on a Saturday morning in autumn, my daughter, Man, proclaimed her arrival to the world with the loudest cries. The daughter's formal name was chosen by the Qi family. I gave her the nickname Man because I had to grow up wildly due to poverty, and I hoped that she could grow up wildly and unrestrainedly because of wealth. I don't seek love, I don't seek parental or sibling affection, but what I crave most in my heart is true affection. From now on, there will finally be someone in this world that I can treat with sincerity. I held Man, and my former mother-in-law smiled beside me. My former mother-in-law smiled, held Man's small hand, and said softly, Yichen, even if Yunshan and Zhou Zhe have children in the future, the Zhou family won't agree to the child being surnamed Qi, so you are a great contributor to our Qi family. I smiled and said, I don't deserve the praise. My former mother-in-law sighed, and her face changed to a look of worry. In the beginning, Yunshan was fooled by Zhou Zhe like an idiot. She made such a fuss, and you were the one who stayed by her side, slowly influencing her with your gentleness and putting her back on the right track. We finally hoped that Yunshan could take over some of the company's affairs. But as soon as that man Zhou Zhe came back, she immediately turned into that damned lovesick again, spending her days with him in extravagant revelry. Even staying in the country for a few days became a luxury. A few days ago, your father fell ill, and I asked them to return to the country immediately. But Yunshan would rather celebrate Zhou Zhe's birthday in France than return to the country to take care of her father. What do you call that? I advised you to be patient before, to keep her from divorcing, but you were too young after all, and couldn't bear it. Mom feels sorry for you. Doesn't want you to suffer alone outside. But Yichen, don't worry, your father and I will never allow that man Zhou Zhe to marry into our family. Even if the two families are well matched, his reputation is too bad. We can't afford to lose that face. Listening to my former mother-in-law's rambling complaints, I remained silent. This was the Qi family's business, not something for an outsider like me to comment on. My former mother-in-law suddenly grabbed my hand. Yichen, come home. This family needs you, needs Man. Come home. The Qi family isn't my home, and they don't genuinely like me the way they think they do. I remember when I first started dating Qi Yunshan, her parents were very opposed to me. I understood. After all, no wealthy family wants their daughter to fall in love with a poor, ambitious man. I didn't expect their approval. Later, because Qi Yunshan was so distraught over Zhou Zhe, her parents reluctantly accepted me, but I vividly remember the disdain in their eyes and the sarcasm in their tone. Especially the first time I spent the new year at her house, the entire Qi family gathered together, chatting and laughing, completely ignoring me. Some even went too far, trying to use me as a servant, deliberately trying to humiliate me. Qi Yunshan didn't care about me. My former in-laws deliberately snubbed me. Who could I rely on? Fortunately, I had prepared myself mentally, took a deep breath, and faced them with a calm smile, preventing them from being too aggressive. After being rejected time and time again, and cleaning up Qi Yunshan's messes repeatedly, they finally got used to my existence and accepted my identity as the future successor of the Qi family. I could always smile through all the difficulties, but I wouldn't deliberately debase myself. I'm no longer the fool I once was. Why would I return to the Qi family to humiliate myself? Man's arrival slowed down my pace of life. Money is important, but spending time with my child is equally important, so I devoted more time to watching Man grow up. I love my daughter, and my former in-laws also dote on her. Originally, my former mother-in-law wanted to throw a grand full-month celebration for Man, but I refused, saying that the baby was too young to be exposed to so many strangers. Finally, on her 100th day, we still held a 100-day banquet for Man. I didn't invite my own parents and younger brother, as we were practically estranged. I only invited my closest friends and business partners, while the Qi family made a grand affair of it, with the entire family and their friends attending. My former in-laws beamed with joy and immediately gifted Man a building and a yacht named after her, showing considerable generosity. I didn't decline because although Man is my child, she is also the Qi family's first grandchild, and she deserves these things. Everyone changed their tune and began to flatter and praise Man, a baby who understood nothing. Qi Yunshan and Zhou Zhe weren't invited to the 100-day banquet, but they still arrived late, hand in hand. Zhou Zhe, dressed in a well-tailored black suit, smiled and presented a set of silver ornaments. The child is still young and can't handle real gold and jade. This is the most suitable for her. My former mother-in-law didn't even look at him, ordering someone to take the silver ornaments and throw them in the trash. Looking at Man, my former mother-in-law smiled kindly. Our Man is the only child in the Qi family. she can't touch those cheap things. Her words directly targeted Zhou Zhe. Zhou Zhe's face turned ashen, but he couldn't make a scene and secretly pinched Qi Yunshan's waist hard. My former mother-in-law smiled and called out to her daughter, "Yinshan, are you so happy that you're dazed? What are you standing there for? Come and hold your daughter." Qi Yunshan looked a little lost and helpless as she gazed at the pink and tender baby, but the expression on her face softened a lot, even showing a hint of maternal warmth, which was rare. She raised her hands and asked me with a smile, "She's so small. Can I hold her? Will it hurt her?" She only took one look at the baby when she was born before letting someone take her away. This was the first time she held her child. I smiled. 3 months is a good age to hold her. Don't hold her upright for too long. Try to hold her horizontally. It's better for the baby's spine. Oh, look, Man is smiling at you. She likes her mother. Qi Yunshan was also pleasantly surprised. Man's smile is so beautiful. She looks just like me when I was little. The way she blows bubbles is so cute too. My former mother-in-law chimed in, but Man is much better behaved than you were when you were little. You used to cry so loudly every day that you gave the nannies nervous breakdowns, but little Man is so quiet. Her big, bright eyes are always smiling. She's definitely luckier than you. We were talking and laughing, and anyone who didn't know the truth would definitely think we were a happy family. But this scene was like a thorn in Zhou Zhe's heart. Disregarding the etiquette of a prominent family, he rushed to us and pulled Qi Yunshan behind him, acting as if the woman was his property. When he rushed forward, I instantly grabbed the baby. I wouldn't joke with my child's safety. My former mother-in-law glared at Zhou Zhe. Our Qi family granddaughter's 100-day banquet is only for family members. What are you doing here? Zhou Zhe, used to doing whatever he wanted, pointed his finger at his former mother-in-law and cursed. "I'm your daughter's childhood sweetheart. We've been together for over a decade. Why can't I come? Back then, you clearly liked me so much, saying that only I was worthy of being the Qi family's son-in-law, saying that after Yinshan and I got married, I would be your own son. But it's only been a few years, and you've become like this. Yinshan and I love each other so much, but you try to separate us. Do you think we're still in the Qing dynasty?" My former mother-in-law was trembling with anger. She didn't expect Zhou Zhe to be so shameless and shout so loudly. She angrily slapped Qi Yunshan across the face. "Look at the kind of man you've attracted. He's already pointing at me and cursing before you're even married. If you get married, is he going to force us to our deaths?" She then pressed Zhou Zhe. "I did say those things back then, but don't you know what you did later? You were already embarrassing enough with your promiscuity overseas, but you even caught a dirty disease. Is this how your Zhou family teaches their sons?" Zhou Zhe didn't back down an inch, smiling triumphantly. "I'm unclean and lost my fertility, but your daughter had a tubal ligation for me. We're a match made in heaven." Before he finished speaking, dozens of people fell silent. My former father-in-law had a relapse and collapsed, and my former mother-in-law clutched her chest and was about to faint. My heart was like an earthquake. Zhou Zhe and Qi Yunshan were unable to have children. Heaven is helping me and my daughter. The upper class emphasizes restraint in their actions, and even if things get bad, they rarely argue publicly. But the Qi and Zhou families made countless jokes this time. The shouting and commotion were more lively than a squabble between hoodlums and shrewish women in a slum. It couldn't be helped. The fact that Zhou Zhe had caused Qi Yunshan to be unable to have children was too big. It was understandable that the Qi family couldn't accept it. I just found it really funny. Zhou Zhe is responsible, but Qi Yunshan isn't a child or an idiot. Her tubal ligation for love was purely voluntary, which is a bombshell in the entire dating world. From Zhou Zhe's perspective, he definitely encountered a woman with a fervent love brain. Although men mocked Zhou Zhe, deep down they were somewhat envious. After all, who wouldn't want to encounter a woman who would live or die for them? But I wasn't envious at all, because my daughter and I were already the biggest winners. Ever since I learned that Qi Yunshan couldn't have children, my ex-father-in-law and ex-mother-in-law have been incredibly enthusiastic towards me and my child. Back when Qi Yunshan wanted a divorce, they had tried to stop her and advised me to be patient, but it was all just lip service. After all, no matter how much I'd improved over the years, in their eyes, I was still a calculating Phoenix man from a poor background, not worth risking a falling out with their own daughter. Especially when my family made a scene at their door once shortly after we got married, acting shamelessly and demanding money, making the scene very embarrassing. But I was ruthless enough and secretly crippled my younger brother afterward, threatening him that if he dared to come again, he wouldn't see the next day's sun. If they behaved themselves, I could still give them 100,000 yuan a year, which forced them to be obedient. So, compared to in-laws like us from the backwoods, my ex-father-in-law and ex-mother-in-law certainly preferred the Zhou family, who were also wealthy. But now, compared to Zhou Zhe's recklessness and extravagance, I had become the best son-in-law in the world. It was fine when he came to advise her. After all, every time he came, he could also spend time with Man, and cultivating a relationship between grandfather and granddaughter couldn't hurt. But unexpectedly, only half a year later, Qi Yunshan actually came to my door. She was a bit thinner now, and more composed, with a dazed and melancholic look in her eyes, completely different from the love-crazed woman she used to be. I politely invited her in, my gentle smile unchanged. If you want to see Man, I can take her back to the old house, to save you the trouble of coming yourself. Qi Yunshan stared at me blankly for a long time before finally saying, Yichen, let's get back together. Yes, let's get back together. Man needs a complete family, and we'll love her together properly in the future. Her tone was hesitant at first, but the second sentence was more resolute, as if she truly intended to reconcile. I smiled, looking down. We got married because of Zhou Zhe, and then divorced because of him. Now you want to get back together? Did he do something again? Qi Yunshan, we've known each other since high school. Even if you didn't see me as a friend, I'm very grateful to you. So I willingly devoted myself to you and your family for 6 years. Please, for the sake of my feelings, just let me go. I won't pester you. And I won't be hysterical, but I also have a heart, and I have loves and hates. Please don't treat me as just an insignificant object, and please don't bring up Man. Ask yourself, are you a good mother? You were the one who said the Qi family needed a child. So you got pregnant, but since Zhou Zhe returned to China, have you thought about your daughter at all? She wronged me, and it was my own fault. After all, I had my own motives when I followed her back then. But Man was the daughter she once looked forward to. Yet she abandoned her daughter for the sake of Zhou Zhe. She doesn't deserve to be a mother. I was still smiling, but my stomach couldn't help but churn. She disgusted me. Qi Yunshan fled in panic. I looked at her retreating figure outside the window, a mocking smile on my lips, in my eyes. Her value was already negligible. She wasn't worth me sharing a bed with again. The reason she came this time was simply because Zhou Zhe had fallen out with her parents, and in a fit of anger Zhou Zhe had gone abroad again. So she needed me to help her heal her wounds again. Thinking about it, Zhou Zhe, no matter what his character was like, was still the only young master of the Zhou family. He had the confidence not to serve his in-laws and not to please his wife. He came back because he was tired of the various women across the ocean, because they couldn't give him the warm and delicate love that only Qi Yunshan could give. But he wouldn't compromise and become a prodigal son who repented and became loyal for Qi Yunshan. He also didn't have the patience to help the Qi family manage their tedious and boring family business. A proud man like him would never wrong himself for anyone. The reason he had a big fight with the Qi family before wasn't because he loved Qi Yunshan so much, but because he felt that a woman he could have easily obtained hadn't been obtained, which hurt his pride. Now that he knew he couldn't win against the Qi family, it was normal for him to leave. It can only be said that they might love each other, but they weren't suitable. Although Qi Yunshan was a scumbag, she was ultimately thin-skinned. After I rejected her, she didn't bother me anymore, but my ex-father-in-law and ex-mother-in-law weren't so easy to fool. They had finally gotten rid of Zhou Zhe, so of course they wanted to take back custody of their granddaughter, and having me return home was just a bonus. My ex-mother-in-law invited me to have a serious talk about this, laying out the pros and cons and letting me make my own choice. I no longer needed to rely on the Qi family's power, so I smiled and declined. Mom, if you want to take custody of Man, I have no objection. After all, her surname is Qi, and she's your and Dad's granddaughter. But think about it. Yunshan could be obsessed with Zhou Zhe, and she might be obsessed with other men in the future. If she makes a scene again, then what do you think Man will think of her mother? Besides, you know my family situation very well. If we remarry, they will inevitably become arrogant and complacent. Are you willing to see their smug faces? I advised her to think about the benefits of maintaining the status quo, and to think about the many shortcomings of forcing a reunion. My ex-mother-in-law was also shaken. People always think of the good things more and the bad things less after they're separated. In fact, when we lived together every day, there were quite a few disagreements. It's better to be like this now. Not too close and not too far, and treat each other like relatives. The Qi family finally didn't mention the matter of remarriage and changing custody. It's not that they hadn't thought about leaving me aside and forcibly taking custody of Man, but I'm not someone they can bully as they please anymore. Not to mention that the affair between Qi Yunshan and Zhou Zhe was widely publicized. giving me a huge advantage in public opinion. Just the fact that I manage so many university alumni and celebrities, if we really tear each other apart, an ant could shake a tree. I have already escaped the lowly fate of being bullied, and I have finally grown into the person I hope to be. I saw Zhou Zhe again 2 years later at Paris Fashion Week. He was still dressed in flashy clothes, holding 2 fair-skinned beauties in his arms. But even through the tea stage and the shadowy crowd, you could see the fine lines at the corners of his eyes and the fatigue in his gaze. He looked directly at me, a hint of hatred in his eyes. I gave him a slight smile, just like in the old days. After the fashion show, I chatted and laughed with several fashion editors as we left the venue, followed by several celebrities who echoed our words with smiles. Zhou Zhe stopped me. "Shen Yichen, let's talk." I smiled and nodded to my friends and followed Zhou Zhe into a cafe on the side of the street. Seeing that I remained silent, he finally couldn't hold back and took the initiative to speak. "Shen Yichen, you're doing well now. You were just a dog I bought for 10,000 yuan back then, but now you've transformed yourself into a gentleman of high society." My smile didn't change. "Zhou Zhe, thank you for the 10,000 yuan you gave me back then. As for my current position, I deserve it, and no one has the right to be jealous." Zhou Zhe's eyes were like poison. "You deserve it? You just relied on stealing your friend's girlfriend and sleeping with women to get where you are, a shameless thing." I put my hands together on the table and sneered. "I don't understand why you hate me. You were the one who pushed Qi Yunshan to me, and you were the one who took my wife while still married, disregarding all worldly shame and having an affair with my wife day and night. Of all things, only you wronged me, but I have never said a bad word about you. Zhou Zhe, are you tired of playing with women? Or have you been played by women? Why have you reached this point where you can't afford to play anymore? Whether I was a human or a dog back then, I am now high above because of my own efforts, while you have long gone downhill. Your selfishness has made your parents a laughingstock in the circle, and you have even lost your direction in business. Instead of reflecting on yourself, you turn around and blame me. Is that interesting? Thinking back to high school, why did I choose to be a dog? Because I needed money, and even more, I needed security. Those high and mighty, rich and powerful classmates not only ridiculed me and subjected me to cold violence, but also amused themselves by playing tricks on me. They thought it was a joke, but for me, the one who suffered, it was blatant bullying, and the ringleader at the time was Zhou Zhe. He liked to see me in a mess and then bow and scrape to him, and I obediently satisfied him. I was too honest, so honest that he had no desire for a challenge, and that's how I had the good fortune to become his dog. How ridiculous! Becoming a dog was my good fortune. Otherwise, I wouldn't have survived those 3 years of high school. I didn't think about revenge, because I knew that the rules of society were not made by me. I could only go against the current and desperately become stronger. I finally got it after paying so much dignity, time, and freedom. Zhou Zhe couldn't even stay in place. The most important thing in this circle is stability. Even if the next generation is incompetent, it's better than making a fuss. Zhou Zhe should be thankful that his parents built a strong enough foundation. Otherwise, he would have already lost the qualification to sit and drink coffee with me. But I think the day he's abandoned by the circle isn't far off either. After returning to China, Qi Yunshan was waiting at the airport. The first thing she said to me was, "Did Zhou Zhe make things difficult for you again? He's always so arrogant. You don't have to indulge him anymore." How ridiculous! Back then, she was Zhou Zhe's most steadfast believer. Even if Zhou Zhe wanted to kill someone, she would hand him the knife and take the blame for him. Just like in high school, when Zhou Zhe was in a bad mood, he would use me like a dog until I was exhausted, and she would just smile and put her head on his lap, praising him for doing well, praising him for being a warm little son. Skipping the unpleasant past, I smiled with relief. No, we're all friends, just catching up. But he doesn't seem to be doing very well, and he still loves you. Yunshan, go to Paris to find him. I hope you two get along well. Locked together forever, tormenting each other. Qi Yunshan stared at me blankly for a moment and muttered to herself, "Yichen, you are completely different from the timid person you used to be. Your smile seems to be surrounded by a layer of dazzling light, especially handsome and charming." It was the first time she praised me, and it was after the divorce. How absurd. I lowered my eyes and didn't speak. I was tired and didn't bother to pay attention to her. Seeing that I didn't speak, Qi Yunshan also drove in silence, and suddenly spoke again halfway through. "Yichen, actually I put Zhou Zhe down a long time ago. His love is like poison. I'm afraid I dare not get close. Can the two of us live a good life together in the future?" I knew that Zhou Zhe had made countless phone calls to her recently, but she hadn't answered any of them. as if she really wanted to cut off all ties. This was also one of the reasons why Zhou Zhe hated me. He thought I had taken his Qi Yunshan away. I smiled calmly. Qi Yunshan, when you had the car accident, you and Zhou Zhe weren't arguing in the car, were you? You said his love was like poison, but what you loved back then was his intense love that could drive people to death, wasn't it? I knew that they were talking about how to force me to divorce while driving. When they got excited, Zhou Zhe put his head on her body. They loved each other recklessly, passionately, and even though they almost died, they still didn't have a trace of guilt. What Zhou Zhe does is none of my business, but what about Qi Yunshan? She was once my wife, the mother of my daughter. She is really disgusting, and I'm grateful for her disgustingness, which allowed me to step on her to climb up without any guilt. Only talk about interests and not about feelings. That is the best relationship between me and Qi Yunshan. I have my own career, and I manage the Qi family's industry that belongs to my daughter for her. I don't know how happy I am every day looking at my lovely little darling, who is a bit naughty. I often recall my childhood experiences. I always remember the casual expressions on my parents' faces as they discussed at the dinner table how much money they could sell me for as a live-in son-in-law to a stupid woman, as if I, the son sitting beside them, was just an emotionless object. I used all my wits to escape them, but I could never shake the unease and fear deep within my heart. That's why I craved money, power, everything that could make me stronger. Now that I have a daughter, I understand that only emotions can heal deeply wounded emotions. Every sweet smile my daughter gives me is the best healing for me. I walked through countless thorns to wear this heavy and beautiful crown, and I hope my daughter and every child can proudly wear their own crowns. Don't be like me, who once lowered my head to the dust for the sake of the crown.